So around like last year, November, I originally got the original Helios 2 Pro, which is their S2 inspired mouse. And after 9 months of consistent use and just it being my main mouse until I found something like the MCHO's L7, the Helios 2 became one of my all-time favorite mice to ever exist and landed on my top 3 mice of 2024. And it's just one of those mice that I can't really put away. So in this video, we're gonna be talking about all my thoughts and opinions on the Helios 2 Pro S, how I feel it compares to other mice on the market, and if I think it's worth picking up over everything else. So let's just get right into it. So starting off, this mouse was sent by Fantech. It doesn't in any way, shape, or form affect my opinion of this product, and all of these thoughts will be my own. They don't get to preview the video before it goes out, and they have no say in the production of this video. So with all that being said, let's just get right into it. So to start, the very obvious thing is its inspiration. It's clearly an S1.5. It's in between the S1 and S2 from Zowie in terms of the shape and design philosophy. You have a back hump that's kind of prevalent, but it's pushed back a lot further, so you get a lot more palm contact, and it works really well for like a pincer claw. It feels fantastic for those styles of grip alongside claw, but if you do play something like a fingertip or a palm, it isn't as good for those two grips as the black flare. I found it being very problematic for a true fingertip, and for palm, the back hump just didn't really feel comfortable at all. In terms of the weight, it comes in at 55 grams. I measured mine at around 57, but that's give or take with the skates using. I'm using the aluminum skates right now. I'm using the alu skates from Tech, so they are a little bit heavier than standard skates, which is why mine comes in at a little bit higher of a weight. They are using the traditional transparent blue shell pink dots. I don't really like the transparent blue shell pink dots. I've always preferred the standard blue shell pink dots, and they did switch it from the original TTC Gold opticals, which I also did kind of prefer. Just the transparent blue shell pink dots are just boring at this point, and I don't really like them in terms of click feel. I've never liked them. The original ones just feel way better. So the big changes between this and the original Helios 2 Pro is that the original Helios 2 Pro didn't have 8K hertz support. It was only 4K. It also didn't come with the dongle out of box, which is a pretty big thing for me. Also, no coding, and it had the optical clicks. So those are the big changes that they added. In the Helios 2 Pro S, you do get 8K hertz out the box alongside a way better coding. Something about the original Helios 2 that I used for around 9 months is that I always needed grips on it. The coding on it was so bad, it made it almost impossible to use without grips, especially with my skin condition, hyperhidrosis, which makes sweating really annoying. And when using mice with no coating, it's practically unusable because they just like to slip out of my hand. In terms of the comparisons, we are going to be compared to a couple of mice, starting with the G Pro. It has a lot more of a back flare compared to the Superlight, but you are getting very similar peaks while the Superlight is a center hump and the Helios 2 is a back hump. They are around the same height. In terms of the click height as well, you're getting very similar click heights. I would pretty much call these the same general shape, but you are getting a lot more back flare presence alongside the side taper. It is a lot more tapered on the side compared to the Superlight, which makes it a lot more ideal for those styles of claw compared to palm or fingertip, where that back flare can be a little bit more problematic for traditional styles of grip that aren't claw. When comparing it to a direct Zowie mouse, I no longer have the S2, but if I did have the S2, it's a little bit larger than the S2 and a little bit wider. Compared to the FK2DW, you are getting a much shorter mouse with a lot more of a back flare presence. Since the mouse is shorter, the back flare is pushed way further back. The FK2DW feels really good for a fingertip, but it's not something I could easily recommend for people who are trying to play a traditional claw, as it has a very flat center hump and it works really well for a pincer claw compared to the Helios 2, which is really good for that standard claw. In terms of the button height, the FK2DW is a much lower button height, but it also is better for a pincher claw or a palm or a fingertip. It works better for more styles of grip compared to the Helios 2, which is really meant for a claw grip. And if you don't really like claw grip, it's going to be hard to recommend the Helios 2. Finally, the last mouse that I'm going to compare it to is going to be the brand new WL Mouse Strider. This is the same shape as the XM2W. So if you don't like the XM2W, you're not going to like the Strider. And the Helios takes a lot of design principles from the Strider and from the XM2, where you're getting a lot of back flare presence and a decent amount of tapering in on the sides. So the fall off from the top of the mouse to the bottom of the mouse is pretty steep. But on the Helios 2, it is a little bit flatter on the sides, not as deep of a fall off or taper, and it feels much more natural to hold mold for the claw grip. The Strider is really designed for an aggressive claw or a more traditional claw, which makes it really good for those styles of grip, but I wouldn't recommend it for a pincher claw or a fingertip or a palm, where the Helios 2 I can easily use for a pincher claw, but I wouldn't really recommend it for any other grips either. They're very similar in design principle, but I definitely would use the Helios 2 over the Strider because it works better with less taper on the sidewalls and a very similar back flare compared to the Strider. It's using your standard 3395, so the battery life is really good, but on 8K hertz, it will suffer a lot.
Editing Stubby here. So I realized while editing the video that I just kind of made up a bunch of information regarding the battery life. It only does 8K hertz wired. It does 4K hertz wireless, and on 4K hertz, I was getting around 5 days of battery life with light use. But on 4K hertz, I was getting around the same 3-ish days of battery life. But that's with very heavy use with just an entire weekend of gaming compared to just spending a little bit of time at gaming throughout the weekday. It lasted significantly longer with light battery use.
In terms of gaming performance, it performed really well. It uses the 3395, so you are going to get good tracking performance in a lot of games, and I didn't have any issues with it. The only real drawback with the Helios 2 Pro S is that you might not like the shape, but in terms of performance, it plays exceptionally well, and I have absolutely no complaints. When you're talking about the flicks, you're talking about the tracking motions, it's using the up-to-date sensor with decent firmware, so it plays really well, and it's something I can easily recommend to anyone looking for a claw or pincher claw mouse. In terms of the software is bog standard. It's what you should expect. It's very similar to the Pulsar Fusion software or the Lamzu software, where you have your main screen, you click on the mouse, and you can go adjust all your settings and parameters. I had no complaints with it. I just wish it was a web-based software. We're getting to the age of web-based software, so I wish all these companies would pick it up and implement better software so we're not having to download 15 million drivers to use a single mouse. But that should be it. Let me know in the comments below if you plan on picking up this mouse, and if we can hit 5,200 subscribers by the end of this week. I will be eating whatever you guys say in the comments, so leave a comment what you are suggesting me to eat. No, I'm not going to eat a mouse. Maybe. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I will see you guys in the next one.